I'm Steve Yarbrough. I'm the general manager of the American Exteriors window manufacturing plant here in Denver. I've been with American Exteriors for about 3.5 years now. Probably not much reason that you would be calling the plant, but you're always welcome to give us a call if you like, or to come by the plant and see us in person if you're in town. Welcome to American Exteriors.
Hi, my name is Derek Mountain. I'm the first shift plant supervisor here at American Exteriors. Welcome to the company. I've been with the company for about 2.5 years and have been in the window manufacturing business for about 10 years. I really see no need that you should need to contact me, but I wish you all the best of luck in your sales endeavors and hope to meet you somewhere down the road. Thank you. First things we want to talk about is Green Seal certification. Green Seal is a prestigious certification program that we are privileged to be one of 5 window companies to have. We were the second one to achieve this. And Green Seal says essentially that we recycle as much of our materials as we can. We currently recycle 100% of our excess vinyl. We are seeking to recycle our glass. We're doing single stream recycling. It also says that we are not using any packaging when we ship our windows, that the packaging is not going to go into the landfills, and that we are not contaminating our local sewer water with any sort of chemicals or anything that might wash off of the parking lots. More than that, it is a strict control process that assures that we are building what we say we build to the customers. So it ensures that we are sending out a quality product that is consistent throughout the process, and that is controlled through our quality assurance manual. The quality assurance manual at American Exteriors it defines the structure and operation of our internal quality assurance program, and this is in compliance with the guidelines as provided by both NAMI and Green Seal. When we're out on the floor, we see that each of the positions, whether it be on the saws or on the welders or on the glass side, are checking each of their units as it comes through for quality assurance, that it measures what it ought to measure. In the case of the glass side, that the IGs are within their tolerable variance in IG thickness, that the wash temperature is controlled, and that the IG coming out of the press is controlled. That ensures that we do not have seal failures in our IG units. On the saws or the welders, they are checking both length, overall finish size, and square. So we know that we're sending out a square window, that it's not going to get racked when it gets into the hole, and it's not going to interfere with the window operation, the window functionality, and the window appearance. When we're talking about windows, we're talking about Statesman versus Diplomat. We've got a corner cut sample here of the Diplomat series and of the Statesman series. You see that the Diplomat is a little bit beefier. It is a double operator system, whether it be in the double slide or double hung window. And in the Statesman window, it is a single hung or single slider. The single hung single slider accounts for about 75% of what we're building, and the double hung double slider about 25%. The single operator is a easier window to build, only in that it's got the single operation, so it's 1 sash versus 2. When we're looking at the windows themselves, if you're looking at a slider, whether it be single slide or double slide, the sash is very easy to remove in that it just simply pulls up and out and is easy to put back in for the homeowner to clean or otherwise access by putting it right back in. Part of our quality program is determining that our welds are clean consistently every time, that the NFRC label is in the same place every time. This tells the customer that we're Green Seal certified, the window came from American Exteriors, NFRC certified, the type of window that it is, that it's a single slider in a vinyl frame with a double glazing, it's a horizontal slider. Our U factor in this particular case is 0.29, solar heat gain coefficient is 0.23, and visible transmittance is 0.53, and then lastly our Energy Star qualification on the bottom. So when we're talking about the temporary NFRC label on our windows, this is determined by NFRC and Energy Star, and they want us to show the customers that we're building what we say we build. When we're discussing U factor, Energy Star says that we must be at a 0.30 or less, and we are at a 0.29 on our single hung, single slider series. The U factor is what determines how much heat is escaping during the winter from the home. When you're looking at solar heat gain coefficient, we must be at a 0.30 or less, and that is determining how much heat is coming into the home, particularly in the summer. When you're looking at visible transmittance, that's how well you can see through the unit, and if you're dealing with a window that has grids, whether it be a colonial prairie or perimeter grids, then that's going to cut down on your visible transmittance, and that will be reflected in this number. We're also currently looking at a tempered window. When you're dealing with a tempered window, because it may be in a bathroom shower, stairwell next to a door, etc., then you will have a small stamp that shows that this was particularly purchased from Oldcastle, that it was tempered by Oldcastle, and that determines visibly that you're dealing with a tempered IG versus a non-tempered IG. In the double hung, again, this is a double operator, double hung. Looking at the functionality of this, it's very simple for the sash to be removed again by the customer by simply tilting this down and pulling up on the balances. And same thing with the top operating sash, with the keeper sash. Goes right back in the same fashion. The other feature of the double hung is that you've got night latches, so that if you wish to open your window as a vent only, then you've got that added security. And again, those just pop right back in, and there's your double operator from the interior and from the exterior. Now I'd like to touch a little bit more on our quality assurance program. Our windows are built not just to be maintenance free to the customer, but also to the company. Our guys out on the floor are working as one team. The team on the first shift is consisted of 12 direct labor employees and 1 supervisor. Second shift is 4 direct labor employees and 1 supervisor. And they're working together as one team to ensure that not only are we reaching our production numbers so that you get your windows installed on time, but also so that we're building a quality controlled unit, and that if services come through the plant, they count against them in their incentive. If they don't come through the plant, then they get more incentive as one team. Not only are they checking the quality inspections on their sheets, but they're visually checking each other as the window goes down the line. And how this pays off for American Exteriors, how it pays off for the plant, and how it pays off for you, is that you're selling a window to the customer that is not going to need to be maintained. It's very rare that we see services come through here. For example, when I was at Accent Windows for 7 years, we had 6 full-time service techs that were employed, and they worked an average of 60 hours a week. Most of that time was spent replacing failed IG units. Another company in town, Milgard, last known, had about 16 service techs, and similar situation. They worked on an average of 60 hours a week replacing mostly failed IGs. In comparison, in the Denver market, we have 1 service tech in Denver for American Exteriors, and he spends maybe 40% of his time doing services, and maybe out of that 40%, 5% is replacing IGs, usually not for seal failures, more for little Jimmy broke it with the baseball when he was playing catch with daddy. So in comparison, our company versus theirs, we're a much more efficient company. Now we're going to transition out to the plant, show you how it is that we're building the windows, and follow me. This is the glass cutter. Albert is the lead on the glass line. He drops the glass onto the air float table, floats it across to the stops. He will then suck it down to the table, vacuum it to the table, and then he will tell the computer to go ahead and cut. The cutter will actually score the glass as opposed to cutting it, and then he will break it afterwards. As the cutter is doing his thing, I'll tell you that the glass comes from PPG. Our glass comes specifically from Wichita Falls, Texas. We use only double strength 1/8 inch glass or triple strength 3/16 inch glass, as opposed to some builder grade materials that are using single strength 16th inch thick glass. This makes for a stronger IG unit. Albert's now going to break the glass according to the map that the computer screen is showing him, and he will set the glass in the harp rack consistently every time so that the SB70 film is on the same side every time. Once the glass is cut, it will be brought over to the glass washer. Barry loads it into the washer. In a period of about 30 seconds, the washer will wash, rinse, and dry both pieces of glass. When it comes through the other side, Dave will visually inspect it with the lamps underneath. He'll clean with denatured alcohol any smudges that the washer didn't catch, and then apply the swiggle. The swiggle spacer is applied with 3 bends, leaving the 4th corner open for gas to be inserted into the IG unit on the other side of the press. The swiggle spacer is consisted of stainless steel backing, which gives us our rigidity in the spacing of the glass. It's also coated in a clear mylar. The back side has a gray desiccant. The desiccant is similar to a pack of powder that you find in your shoes or pants when you buy them. It absorbs all moisture that's in the air, specifically when the IG is getting put together, and then any moisture that may encounter the IG at a later time. The black butyl is what gives the IG its seal. Once it's run through the heat press, then the heat lamps will heat up the butyl, and it will run through a series of rollers that will press the IG down to its final overall thickness. The butyl will then spread out slightly, giving it a tight seal so that no condensation enters the window at any later point. Here's Dave leaving his 4th corner open. All the spacer gets a date timestamp so that we know when the IG was manufactured for warranty issues. We will then blow any dust and matter out of the IG before capping it, squaring up the glass as he does so, and then sending it across the air float table into the heat press. Here's the IG unit coming out the other side of the press. All of our glass is floated glass as opposed to rolled glass. Floated glass was a process that was invented in the 1950s, and over 90% of today's window glass is built from floated glass. Barry is going to quality inspect the IG unit, measuring it to make sure that it measures according to the tag, and then he will tag it with the appropriate tag so that it matches up with the window at the end of the line. He will put it in the harp rack in order, and then insert the gas needle into the unit. The gas needle is pushing out the ambient air while filling it with an argon gas. It has a sniffler on it so it senses when the unit is 95% full. And when it's full, then the alarm will go off telling Barry that it's at its limit, and then he will pull the needle out, heat up the corner with a torch lamp, and seal the 4th corner in a manner that warranties the IG, and you cannot tell the difference between the sealed corner and the other 3. This is our 100% virgin vinyl that comes in 21-foot lineals from Vecca, or vinyl ships from Reno. Kevin's on the frame saw. When he cuts the material, he will visually inspect it. He will also measure it to make sure that the saw is calibrated. And then he will log the calibration on his quality control checklist. We keep those for 4 years as per our Green Seal NFRC Energy Star clients. Once he has logged his measurements, but the saw is calibrated, he will then go over and punch the piece of material for the center meeting rail. Any punching for meeting rail or weep holes will get done prior to welding, as will the balances being put in the double hung and single hung windows. Of the 3 sawyers, Nick is our second sawyer. He's running the straight cut saw. He cuts all the snap-in pieces and then punches the sill track so it will be notched against the frame. Jeremy's our third sawyer. He's cutting the sash. Similar to Kevin, he will measure his pieces to make sure that the saw is calibrated. Again, he will log his calibration measurement in onto his sheet. And then drop it in the appropriate bin. The saws are optimizing the material so we have minimal waste, and 100% of our waste is recycled. Once the sash pieces are cut, he will put them in the appropriate punches to punch for weep holes. To punch for locks, keepers, pivot bars, and to take the sharp corners off of the handles. All the steel reinforcement will get put into the sash prior to welding, as will the weather stripping. Nick here is weather stripping different channels. Call for different weights in the weather strip. You see there under the table the different weights, and there's an example of the channel in which the weather strip is applied to. This makes for a very weather-tight window. Our thermal welds are making for a much squarer and stronger window that's not only eliminating 100% of the air infiltration at the corners, but it's also making for a stronger and squarer unit. Thus making it an aesthetically pleasing unit and one that operates efficiently, so that in the case of a single hung, it's not out of square, causing for gaps on the side next to the weather strip in the frame, and in the case of a slider, that it's not out of square, causing for troubles in locking the window unit. Spencer is then checking the square. He's also checking the overall finish size, and like the sawyers, he will log that onto his inspection sheet. When the sash is welded, or the frame is welded, you have an excess that is accounted for in the cuts, 1/8 of an inch on each corner, causing for a slag. We can tell by the rollover on the weld if it's a quality weld. We will let it cool for an appropriate amount of time before putting it into the cleaner. When George puts the sash into the machine is computer operated, and it will apply a scarf knife to each the top and the bottom to shave off the excess. A drill bit will go into the corner, and then the saw blade will take off the exterior corner. As he rotates it around, it will do the same thing, and it will recognize each different profile, whether we're doing a double series picture window or a single series sash. It will automatically recognize the change in profile. And then George will go back and clean up the last little bit of the corner, as we have a round bit going into a square corner, and he will once again visually inspect each corner to make sure that it's a good weld and a good clean. We saw the before the clean, and this is the after clean. It's taken off the edges. It's given us a clean corner. When a schedule is generated and released to the floor, it also generates labels for the frames and for the glass. The labels are then color-coded as per final location, whether it be Kansas City, Salt Lake, etc. The tags tell us what date the schedule was released to the floor, the style of window that it is, the job number that applies to us in plant, a job number that is used by the facility, as well as the line number, which if we look into Fenivision will tell us where the window is in the house. It tells us it's an American Exteriors window, Kansas City, which is the red stripe. It tells us the overall finish size and the overall glass thickness of the IGs. It tells us that it's a gas-filled unit, which is standard, and that it's an XO, meaning that it is a sliding window. This is 3 of 3, in that there are 3 windows of identical size, the schedule number that it was released to the floor in, the batch number, and the bin number. These numbers are used in-house so that we can track a window all the way down the line, whether it be the frame, as we see here, the in-house job number, the line number, and the bin number. This will coincide with the sash being off of schedule 6659, bin 19, and then the glass tag will have all of that information as well, so that we have an appropriate marriage at the end of the line. Nabil is now assembling a sash. He's applying the locks, as we saw the lock punches coming off the sash saw. He uses a template to make sure that they are lined up appropriately. This is also where he will apply the wheels in a slider, the pivot bars in a hung, put on any tilt latches, keepers. And as we see here, he's going to apply the glazing tape. The glazing tape is a double-sided tape that has one surface for glass and one surface for vinyl. It is very sticky, causing for a tightly sealed unit in the window, again for air infiltration purposes. We also know that the tape is so sticky that the glass will not slide in transportation or as gravity takes over and the window sits for any period of time. When Greg determines that he has both IGs for an assembled window, he will pull the window over to the glazing table. Nabil has checked to make sure that the sash fit in the frame. So Greg will take the sash back out of the frame, set it up on the table, and then pull the backing off of the double-sided tape. Once he's disposed of the backing, he will apply just a small dab of clear silicone to each of the corners where the seam in the tape is. This ensures that air and water will not find its way into the window, giving the window a very tight seal with the IG to the sash. He will then put in neoprene spacing blocks on the bottom, ensuring that we have a consistent reveal around the 4 sides of the sash, and also it will give it some cushion as the window travels to its destination, as well as allowing space for any water that happens to get into the sash to seep out the weep holes that were punched prior to welding. Greg is now clipping the corners off of his first 2 pieces of bead that will be put into the window. This ensures that the bead will not break the sash welds when it's put in. He will grab the glass, again double checking to make sure that it is the right IG for that window. Stick it in the sash, making sure that the sides of the sash are not hourglassing in and that the top is not bowing down. Again, making for a tight seal in regards to air infiltration, as well as a aesthetically pleasing sash that does not show any signs of bowing or hourglassing. Once he has both pieces in, he will twist his setting blocks and then he'll start applying the glazing bead, starting with the horizontal pieces first. Over the course of an 8-hour shift, first shift will glaze approximately 90 windows in that day, most of that being done by one individual glazer. Craig is the end of the line, so while he is not logging any of his quality control, he is visually inspecting to make sure that the glass is not scratched, that there are not smudges, that the vinyl is the appropriate size, checking for gaps in the weather strip to the frame, that the bead is appropriate size. If it's too long, he will cut it down. If it's too short, he will recut it. And if anything needs to get rejected, this is the time and place to do it, to send it back up the line so that it doesn't go out the door with flaws. Once the bead are in both pieces of sash, he will then put the sash back into the frame. Make sure that the lock is lined up with the keeper, that it operates smoothly, and call that window done. He will scan it with the barcode that's on the label on the side of the frame. This goes into Fenivision, generating the temporary NFRC label, also telling us that the window is done, and we can tell at any given point whether the job is complete or not, thus ensuring that the job will be on the next truck. Here we have the screen that's going to go into this window. It tells us the job number, the overall screen size, the finish size, that it's a Des Moines window. And the order item number coincides with our line number on the side of the window, so we ensure that the proper screen is going in the proper window. Once the screen is in place, the window is called complete. Well, that was the tour of the plant. Hopefully it gave you a pretty good idea of the work and energy that goes into building our windows, the processes that are in place, the quality program that's strictly followed to again assure that the customer you're selling to is getting a quality built window that's going to need very little, if any, maintenance. And I wish you all the best in your endeavors to sell windows from here on forward.